The chosen one. This message did not find you by chance. God has brought you here for a purpose. You did not click this by accident. Your spirit was pulled to it because heaven is sending a message to your soul. The anguish you've gone through was not without reason. The rejection you experienced was not the end of your tale. It was a setup. Everything they attempted to ruin you is being transformed into the very basis of your ascent. And now the table is being laid. Not in secret, not in the shadows, but in front of those who believed it was over for you. Let's divide this prophetic word into 7 profound, spiritually revelatory segments. Before we get started, be sure you like, share, and subscribe because this message is more than simply material. It is heavenly confirmation for the selected ones. Walking from spiritual conflict into supernatural elevation, with a sincere thank you to everyone who has supported me via super thanks. May God generously bless you. Your presence, prayers, and unshakable faith are not overlooked. Your devotion shines brightly for those of you who continue to observe, listen, and align. And I'm really thankful if your spirit connects with this frequency. Right now, type in the comments. That number is not random. It is a prophetic indication to heaven that you are ready to sit at the table. Prepare for public vindication. Prepare for the prize that is being prepared in front of those who attempted to bury you. Not everyone will read the whole message. Only the genuinely selected who remain will obtain clarity, divine perspective, and prophetic insight into why God permitted the betrayal, delay, and quiet. Because now it is time to arrange the table. This is not something you hear once and then forget. This is a living word, a spiritual blueprint that will reveal more depths each time you visit. Watch it again anytime your spirit stirs, for God will reveal more about what is ahead for you in your next season. It is not just nearby, it's already being organized. And the table, it is already being prepared. Let's dig in. Chapter 1. The selected one had to accept rejection. Let's start from the beginning. You've been asking God why specific folks left. Why have some links suddenly dried up? Why were you left alone when you needed help the most? And here's the reality that your spirit must understand. The refusal you received was not an error. It was a must. Those who departed were never allocated to your fate. They were tied to your previous season. And when God starts to bring your life into accordance with divine purpose, He begins to eliminate everything and everyone who cannot bear the weight of your next level. What seemed like abandonment was really a heavenly detachment. What you saw as betrayal was in fact God's redirection. You weren't being abandoned. You were being preserved. The folks who turned you down weren't simply random players in your tale. These were filters. They told the truth. They showed you who was never intended to sit at the banquet prepared by God in your honor. Their absence does not imply that you have failed. It is God's faithfulness. Because some of those individuals just adore the version of you who was insecure, needy, or reliant on their approval. They could clap for you while you were down, but they couldn't handle the version of you that is fully healed and striding in strength. You sobbed over relationships that could not support your calling. You sought to cling on to individuals who secretly wished you would not ascend. You stretched yourself to fit into spaces where your brightness made people uncomfortable. But God observed everything and, in His generosity, permitted the separation not to harm you, but to prepare you. Because not everyone can go where you are going. Not everyone will be able to see the realization of God's plan in your life. Heaven needed to trim your surroundings before the promise could grow. You thought that solitude, that loneliness, was sacrosanct. It was for protection. God was not punishing you. He was guarding what He had put inside of you. He was certain that the wrong hands did not touch what was sacred, because what He is planning is more than simply another chance. It is a table, a meal full of grace, healing, elevation, and purpose. Only those ordained by heaven may sit with you. So instead of questioning, why did they leave me? What was God clearing room for? Because what's coming is so important, so precious, the space needed to be empty before it could be filled. The chosen one. The rejection was not personal. It was prophetic. The filter primed you for favor. And eventually, the same ones who walked away will have no option but to see what God has laid before you in their presence. Chapter 2. The opponent saw the table before you did, so choose one. One of the reasons your life seemed like a perpetual battleground was not because you were doing anything wrong, but that you were perilously near to something. Right. The adversary sensed what God had in store for you before you even knew what it was. Long before the doors opened, the opportunity arrived, and the favor became obvious in the natural hell. I felt it in the spirit. Demons recognized the change before you did. The conflict that came against you was not random. This was a response, a violent and frantic effort to undermine what God was going to build. You may have asked why things intensified when I began praying more. Why did my life become more chaotic when I had yielded to God's will? That is your solution. The adversary understood that once you fully realized who you are, what you carry, and the favors that surround your life, his schemes would be finished. That is why the strikes came from all directions. That's why the treachery surprised you. This is why your sleep was interrupted. Your thoughts were blasted, and your writing was targeted. The opponent spotted your table being set up. Instead of letting it develop peacefully, he launched a preemptive offensive to confuse, delay, and exhaust you before you could enter it. But here's something the enemies didn't expect. The pressure simply made you hungry. The conflict did not weaken you. It sharpened you. The sleepless nights taught you how to pray without interruption. The heartbreaks drove you closer into God's embrace. The misunderstanding drove you to rely on God's knowledge rather than your own understanding in an attempt to ruin you. The adversary unwittingly trained you. He misjudged your resilience. He figured if he smacked you hard enough, you'd walk away from the task. He believed that if he separated you, you would lose your voice. He figured if he depleted your resources, you'd quit stitching. But he failed to grasp this. You were born for this, built for combat, forged in flames. And the conflict that he initiated, which became your holy preparation on the table, was not canceled due to the war. It was verified by it. Your struggles were intense, indicating that you were close to a breakthrough. The storm was not evidence that God abandoned you. It was evidence that heaven was drawing closer. The chosen one. Understand this. When the opponent sees the table, he becomes worried. But you don't have to be concerned about his response since, no matter what hell attempts, God's will cannot be prevented. The table is not a maybe. This is a promise. And you're still on schedule. So don't misunderstand the battle as a signal to resign. View it as validation. Something holy and long-awaited is being put in motion. Your adversaries knew it before you did. That is why they came for you. But now you know, too. And now you're approaching it with zeal in your heart and purpose in your stride. Chapter 3. God is delivering a public message. The chosen one. This next chapter of your life will not be subtle. God is not keeping things quiet. He is not concealing what he is going to perform in you, through and around you. This moment has been perfectly timed for public dissemination. There's a reason why he's not setting the table in private. It's being shown in the open because it deserves to be seen. This is not just about provisioning. This isn't simply about getting what you've been hoping for. It gets deeper. God is conveying a message via your narrative. He is using your life to demonstrate his faithfulness, kindness, and impeccable timing. He is establishing you as live evidence that the words spoken over your life cannot be reversed. Regardless of who attempted to curse or stop it, he may have silently restored you behind the scenes. But he did not. He might have sent the resources, responses, and opportunities in quiet. But he decided not to. Why? Because what you went through was not silent. The treachery was not quiet. The mockery was not veiled. The spiritual fight was not overlooked. So the blessing won't be either. This table is being placed in front of every individual who ever doubted your ability to succeed, every voice that questioned your purpose, and every spirit that attempted to hide your light. Not so you may brag, but so God can honor himself in a manner that no one can dispute. It's not about you getting noticed. It is about God being revealed. There are folks who believe they have the last say on your life. They observed you struggling through difficulties and concluded that God had abandoned you. They saw your calm seasons as a sign of defeat. They didn't understand you were being kept. You were being trimmed. You were being prepared for something they would never comprehend. And now the same folks who deemed your process ineligible, you're going to see your promise blossom. This is a heavenly vindication, not in a loud, vindictive manner, but in a very irrefutable one. It's God's way of expressing that I was with them when no one else was. I saw their hearts. I observed their loyalty. I listened to their private prayers and soothed their hidden tears. And now I'll reward them publicly. You are not receiving blessings in secret. You are being elevated in the same location where you were previously disregarded. It's empowering to be seen by people who believed you were done, not because you need their approval, but because your testimony becomes proof. They'll realize it wasn't luck. They will see it was not manipulation or performance. Your life will clearly show that it has been touched by the hand of God. Your breakthrough will speak louder than any untruth spread about you. Your fruit will answer questions. You no longer have to explain. So approach this time with kindness. You do not need to make any announcements. Allow the outcomes to speak. Allow the change to speak. Allow your tranquility to speak. Allow your constancy to speak. The public table isn't a show. It is an expression of God's covenant with you, which existed long before the earth. This is what occurs when a selected one perseveres. The approach remains true to God's voice and refuses to compromise for a quick fix. The harvest has come. The feast is being set up. The host is heaven itself. And you are not only a visitor. You're the reason the table was set in the first place. Chapter 4. The table reflects the restoration option that was selected. God's plan for you includes more than simply fresh beginnings. It is about heavenly restoration. This table is not only stocked with benefits to help you go ahead. It also contains items that were stolen from you, lost in war, or buried under years of quiet and suffering. This isn't a random blessing. It is a targeted redemption. God is restoring what the adversary attempted to convince you'd never return. The years that seemed squandered, the times you gave but never received, the sacrifices that went unrecognized by man, the seasons you stood in the gap for others, loved when you were hated, gave when you had nothing left, and remained faithful. Even when treachery struck your heart, you believed no one would notice. Yet heaven documented every deed, every tear, and every secret moment of fidelity. And now God says the restoration has started. This is the season when the harvest catches up with the seed. You worked for too long without being rewarded. You poured into others, helped develop aspirations that were not your own, and supported individuals who had no intention of returning to you. But God recognized the imbalance. He saw the injustice, and He did not forget. The table is being set with precise restoration, not broad general blessings, but deliberate personal expressions of what you have lost. Dreams you buried for survival are ready to come back to life. Prayers. You stopped praying because you believed it was too late. A call is abruptly answered. Relationships you grieved, whether friendships, familial relationships, or spiritual alliances, will be repaired or replaced with something holier, healthier, and given from heaven. Expect delayed resource release. Expect money flow when there was previously a financial drought. Expect clarity where there was misunderstanding. God is compensating for lost time in a natural manner. This is the kind of restoration that goes beyond just returning what you had. It returns. It increased, honed, and improved because God does not just give back. He recovers better than previously. And don't be astonished if healing extends even to your identity. Many of you forgot who you were while in suffering. You forgot about the power you had. You questioned your anointing. However, once this table is established, not only will your circumstances be restored. Yes, you are. Your confidence, pleasure, and discernment. Your peace. You can dream again. Your courage to stand boldly and live as a child of God. You have always been. You're not merely entering a new season. You are returning to the place you were born to inhabit, the one that matches your soul, your talents, and your mission. The opponent attempted to draw your attention away from it, disqualify you, and direct you around it. But none of this worked. You have been diverted, not denied. This table is heaven's statement that your narrative will not conclude with a lack. It ends in completeness, not in regret, but in repair. You are being returned to your proper place, not by force, but with favor, not because someone vouched for you, but because they phoned you. So, open your heart, open your hands, get ready to receive, because everything was stolen, delayed, damaged, or lost. Everything is coming back to you, and this time, It brings tranquility, permanency, and purpose. Chapter 5. This table includes the strategy chosen one. Don't be misled by how lovely the table seems, for this isn't simply a celebration. It is all about activation. It is more than simply a prize for survival. It is a building recruiting. What happens next? This banquet God has prepared for you is more than just a feast. It's a blueprint, a heavenly operations center, and a launching pad for your greater purpose. Many people believe that elevation implies easiness, that blessings equal rest. However, in the kingdom of God, rewards come with responsibilities. Each open door brings a heavenly teaching. Every promotion comes with a new set of responsibilities. With the limelight comes an increased need for spiritual discipline, obedience, and humility. This is not the time to relax or become comfy. This is not the moment to claim I've succeeded. There is no selected one. This is the time to develop, plan, strategize, hear what others cannot hear, and move while others are stuck in dread. Execute with heavenly accuracy and courage. God is giving you a watch, but He will also disclose how, when, and who. Because what you are about to embark on cannot be accomplished only by human mind. It demands supernatural wisdom. Expect extraordinary clarity in the days ahead. Don't be astonished if you wake up from nightmares that seem like blueprints. Don't underestimate the downloads that occur in periods of quiet. God is ready to speak to you in ways He has never done before. Because the objective is more important, the stakes are greater, and your sensitivity to His voice must be deeper. This is the moment to record the vision clearly, to take notes on what you see in prayer, and to follow the Spirit even when it doesn't seem rational. Because the table is about more than simply food. It's about the encounter that takes place there. This is where strategies are created. Here is where heaven speaks the next step. This is when the goal becomes evident. He isn't simply providing you resources. He's offering you revelations. He isn't only connecting you with folks. He is assigning divine alignments. Every phone contact, introduction, and open door in this season has a spiritual component. Do not take anything casually. Your relationships are not random. They are strategic and will be critical to what comes next. Here's the deeper reality. You're not just being blessed. You are being deployed. You are being activated as a leader, a bearer of heavenly answers, a builder of legacy, a voice for your generation. The table is not the end. It is the beginning. It serves as the command center for your purpose. It is the meeting place where God bestows not just supplies, but plans. This is your Nehemiah moment, when the resources are put into your hands, but the task has been put in your heart. This is your Esther moment, the miraculous placement at the right moment, in the right room, with the weight of a whole community behind your obedience. This is your Joseph moment, when a jail has become a kingdom, and the dream that previously perplexed you now makes complete sense. So keep vigilant, prayerful, and receptive, because the next thing God instructs you to do may not seem to be significant, but it will have a great influence. Yes, the table is a prize, but it also serves as a celestial battle chamber. You will not only dine here, but also carry out your strategy. You will develop the kingdom, the chosen one. Don't allow the table's beauty distract you from the strategy that is being exposed. This isn't only your chance to get noticed. It's your time to be dispatched. Chapter 6. Remain modest. The adversary is still watching. The chosen one. This is a holy moment. The table is being set. The favor is pouring. The breakthrough is obvious. But with all of that heavenly gift comes a spiritual obligation. Stay humble as God starts to reward you openly. As the promise starts to materialize in front of your own eyes, you must resist the temptation to become proud. Don't see this as an occasion to brag. It's not about proving your naysayers incorrect. It is about proving God correct. He trusted you with agony. Now He trusts you with power. He witnessed your steadfastness in the fire and is now putting you in fulfillment. However, elevation always draws attention, and not all of it is pure. The same individuals who rejected you in the desert will now want to study you in your harvest. The opponent who formerly underestimated you is now keeping a careful eye on you, waiting for an opportunity. Pride creates that opening. Arrogance is the chink in the armor. That is why God has called you to walk with quiet confidence and unrelenting humility. Don't let pride spoil what prayer has accomplished. Don't let the clapping quiet your spiritual ears. During this season of acknowledgement, you must stay grounded in respect, seeing every compliment as a form of devotion. Allow each advancement to remind you of the valley you crawled through. Let every open door remind you of the nights you grieved, the prayers you mumbled, and the fasts you observed while no one was looking. The adversary is still watching, not because he has power over you, but because he wants to know how you did it. He wants to test whether you will mishandle the table. The more obsessed you are with the blessing, the better. If you get so focused on being seen that you leave the private area where God taught you. But this time, you're moving differently. You're not looking for validation. You aren't here to settle scores. You are here on divine assignment. You carry this table with elegance, maturity, and the knowledge gained from being forged in fire. Allow the table to speak for itself. Let your fruit be your solution. Allow your quiet to carry more weight than arguments ever could. You do not have to explain how you got here. You do not need to justify your blessing. You are not required to reply to the murmurs or entertain the diversions. Your obedience was the evidence. Your constancy was your weapon. Your tenacity was your confirmation. And now, the outcomes will speak eloquently. Allow the feast to speak for itself, since God's work in your life is too holy to be polluted by ego. It's too sacred to be treated casually. Do you realize what it took to get here? You are aware of the cost, loneliness, misunderstanding, and breaking. So, now that you've entered the chamber you prayed for, the only appropriate reaction is respect and attentiveness. The chosen one, you are not just blessed, you're being observed. Heaven is waiting to pour forth more. Hell is waiting to see whether it can trip you. People are looking to see how you will carry out what you hoped for. Allow your body language to speak volumes. Let your peace be your platform. Allow your humility to be your protection. You are here by grace, and you will remain here on honor. Stay low. Keep listening. Stay guided by the Spirit, because the feast is only the beginning. There's more ahead, but you must carry this table as if it were sacred. Chapter 7. Sit, eat, walk through it. The chosen one. This is it. This is the moment your soul has been longing for. The moment your soul had been feeling was approaching, even when your intellect could not comprehend it. You have sobbed in private. You have suffered in quiet. You continued walking, even when your legs felt weakened, even when you had a sad heart and empty hands. You stayed loyal even when you had every reason to leave. You trusted when it didn't make sense to. And now the voice of God is plainly speaking to your spirit. Sit down, eat, receive what I've prepared for you. This table is not purely symbolic. It's spiritual. It is sacrosanct. It is the expression of all you have planted in tears, which will yield a harvest of joy. This is the fulfillment of the promise. The actual proof that God never forgot you, never abandoned you, and never failed to follow his promises. You are walking into the manifestation of prayers you believed were unheard, blessings you thought were too far gone, and a degree of peace, provision, and purpose that could only come from the hand of God. The exact adversaries that whispered behind your back and questioned your calling? Who questioned your worth? They will now see what occurs when a person remains faithful to God in the dark. They will observe the overflow. They'll notice the height. However, the attention is not on them. The emphasis is on you truly embracing the life God has been preparing you for all along. This isn't about vengeance. It is about redemption. It is not about being seen. It is about walking in what has already been written. You do not need to apologize for this table. You do not need to explain why God selected you. You don't need to protect your seat. You did not arrive here by chance. You didn't take shortcuts. You did not maneuver your way into this situation. You came here by fire and capitulation. Oil was generated during the crushing process. So, enter into this table moment with serenity, peaceful awareness, a grateful heart, and a spirit of quiet strength. You don't need the noise. Your presence has weight now. You do not need authorization. Heaven has already approved it. And you don't have to work hard since this seat is reserved for you. Eat with confidence. Feast in adoration. Let each meal remind you that God is a restorer, that all you went through wasn't for naught. that what has been postponed is no longer disputed. And when you rise from this table, do so with clarity, courage, and the authority of someone who has been appointed rather than just anointed.